The Dominion had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. Their empire spread across half the galaxy like a dark shadow. They had conquered 10,000 worlds and destroyed any species that refused to bow before them. Their fleets were endless. Their weapons could crack planets in half. They had never known defeat. Lord sat on his throne made of living crystal. The throne pulsed with soft light as he watched the report on his screen. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the images. A small blue planet, third from its yellow sun, covered in water and green lands. And most importantly, it was broadcasting signals into space. Radio waves, television signals. A species was announcing itself to the universe. Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. He had seen this before. Young species, foolish species, sending messages into the void without knowing what might hear them. They never learned until it was too late. "What do we know about them?" asked his chief strategist. Commander stepped forward and bowed low. His skin was smooth and his uniform was perfect. He had served for 60 years and knew better than to bring bad news. "They call themselves humans, Supreme Arbiter. They have existed for perhaps 300,000 years but have only reached space travel in the last few centuries. They have colonized 3 worlds beyond there. Their technology is primitive. Their fleet numbers around 200 small vessels." Laughed. The sound echoed through his massive command chamber. 200. We have 200 ships in this room alone. "Yes, Supreme Arbiter. They pose no threat to the Dominion." "Of course they don't," waved one clawed hand. "Send them the standard message. They have 30 of their solar cycles to surrender. If they refuse, we will turn their world to glass." Bowed again and left to carry out the order. The message traveled across space at faster than light speed. It reached Earth's solar system in 3 days. Defense satellites picked it up first. Then the signal was sent down to Earth Command, a massive underground facility beneath the mountains of Korea. Admiral was eating lunch when the alert came. She was 53 years old with short black hair streaked with. Her face was calm and her eyes were sharp. She had commanded Earth's defense forces for 15 years and had seen many strange things, but nothing like this. She walked into the command center and watched the message play on the main screen. Lord appeared in all his alien glory, 8 feet tall, 4 eyes, skin covered in small scales. His voice was deep and full of confidence. "Primitive species of Earth, I am Lord, Supreme Arbiter of the Dominion. Your world now falls under our territory. You have 30 of your solar cycles to surrender completely. All your governments will bow to us. All your people will serve us. If you refuse, we will destroy your world and your species. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact." The message then showed footage from other conquered worlds. Cities burning, ships exploding, entire populations being marched into slavery or worse. It was meant to create fear. Watched it all without expression. When it ended, she turned to her officers. They were all watching her, waiting to see her reaction. Some looked scared, others looked angry. None of them knew what to do. "Get me a line to President," said calmly. "And someone make some coffee. It's going to be a long night." Within hours, every leader on Earth knew about the message. President called an emergency meeting. Leaders from every nation gathered in a secure location. The mood was tense. Some argued for immediate surrender. Others wanted to fight even though they knew they would lose. Fear filled the room like smoke. Then stood up. He was 60 years old, a former fighter pilot who had faced death many times. His face was calm and his voice was steady. "Everyone please sit down and listen." The room went quiet. "Yes, the Dominion has more ships than us. Yes, their technology is more advanced than what we have shown the galaxy. Yes, they have conquered thousands of worlds." He paused and smiled. "But they don't know us. They don't know what we've been building. They don't know what's waiting for them." The Russian president leaned forward. "What are you saying, that we can fight them?" I'm saying we've been preparing for this moment since we first sent signals into space. We knew something would come eventually. We hoped it would be friendly, but we prepared for the worst. He pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed something massive hidden in the shadow of Jupiter, a structure so large it belief. Ladies, and meet the Hammer of Dawn, 40 kilometers of armor and weapons, and that's just the biggest piece. We have much more hidden across the system. The room was silent. Then the Chinese premier started to laugh. Soon others joined him. The fear in the room began to fade, replaced by something else, hope and excitement. 30 days, said. That's more than enough time to wake everything up. Let them come. Let them think we're weak, and when they arrive, we show them what humanity can really do. Admiral finished through the video link. Far above Earth, spy drones watched the planet. They expected to see panic. They expected to see people running and screaming. They expected governments to collapse and surrender messages to be sent. Instead, they saw something confusing. The humans were going about their normal lives. Children went to school. Workers went to their jobs. There were no riots, no mass prayers, no evacuation of cities. And strangest of all, when the humans talked about the alien threat, they didn't seem scared. They seemed amused. News anchors made jokes about it. Comedy shows created funny sketches about the people on social media posted memes. They were laughing. Commander reviewed the drone footage with growing confusion. He had watched hundreds of species receive the Dominion's ultimatum. All of them reacted the same way: terror, despair, surrender. But these humans were different. They were laughing in the face of destruction. Perhaps they don't understand the threat, said to himself. Perhaps they are simply too primitive to know what awaits them. He added a note to his report. Species appears to be mentally unstable. Possible mass delusion. Recommends swift conquest to prevent unpredictable behavior. He had no idea how wrong he was. He had no idea that humanity's laughter was not madness. It was confidence. The confidence of a species that had hidden its true strength for generations. The confidence of predators who had been pretending to be prey. The countdown had begun. In 30 days, the Dominion would learn why making humanity laugh was a very, very dangerous thing to do. The days passed quickly. On Earth, people continued their normal lives while secretly in the shadows, humanity's true power began to wake up. Admiral stood in the command center of Citadel Base on the Moon. The base was hidden beneath the surface, invisible to any scanner. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at their stations. Screens showed ships powering up across the solar system, ships that had been sleeping for decades. Status report, said. Captain stepped forward. She was only 31 years old, but she had already proven herself in 3 battles against the pirates who sometimes raided human colonies. Her black hair was tied back tight, and her eyes were sharp like a hawk. The 7th Fleet is fully awake, Admiral. 12 battleships, 40 cruisers, and 200 destroyers. The 3rd Fleet will be ready in 6 days. The 9th Fleet in 10. And the Hammer smiled, moving into position behind Jupiter. It will be ready when we need it. Nodded slowly. The plan was simple but dangerous. They would show only their weakest ships, make them think humanity was helpless. Let them come close, let them get confident, and then spring the trap. The decoy fleet asked. 50 old patrol ships. We've made them look even weaker than they are. Removed some weapons, dimmed their shields. They will think that's all we have. Good, and our people. Smile faded slightly. Ready to do their duty, Admiral. They know the risk. If this fails, they'll be the first to die. Put her hand on shoulder. It won't fail. We've been planning this for 100 years. Every detail, every possibility, we're ready. Far across the stars, the invasion fleet was gathering. 10,000 warships assembled at the edge of their territory. It was the largest fleet they had sent against a single species in 3,000 years. Lord wanted to make an example of Earth. Commander walked through the flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The ship was 3 kilometers long, a mountain of metal and weapons. Its main cannon could destroy a moon with one shot. Nothing in human space could match it. And yet felt uneasy. He entered Lord's private chamber and bowed low. Supreme Arbiter, I have completed my analysis of the human species. Looked down from his throne, and they are strange, my lord. Our probes have gathered much data. Their history is filled with violence. They have fought countless wars against each other. They nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons. They created diseases and poisons that killed millions of their own kind. So they are savages, good. Savages are easy to crush. Perhaps, my lord, but there is more. Pulled up a hologram showing human military history. They are extremely creative when it comes to war. They invented weapons that their enemies never expected. They won battles they should have lost through tricks and deception. And most concerning, what? They seem to enjoy it. War, I mean. They make entertainment about it. Games, stories. They glorify their warriors and remember their battles for thousands of years. Laughed. You think I should fear creatures who fight with chemical rockets and metal bullets? Our shields can stop anything they throw at us. Of course, Supreme Arbiter. I only advise caution. Our probes also detected something unusual in their outer system, a massive structure hidden behind their largest planet. We cannot scan it properly. The shielding is unexpectedly advanced. Stood up from his throne. His full height was impressive, nearly 9 feet when he stretched. You worry too much. The structure is probably a mining station or space dock. Irrelevant. We will crush them in days. Yes, Supreme Arbiter. But could not shake his feeling of unease. Something was wrong. The humans were not acting like victims. They were acting like predators waiting to strike. On Earth, the final preparations were. In a secret facility beneath the city of Seoul, Engineer worked on the last of the new weapons. She had spent 20 years designing shield generators that could stop plasma. Now those shields were being installed on every ship in the true fleet. Her assistant, young Minyu, brought her coffee. Do you really think this will work? He asked. Smiled tiredly. Our grandparents started this project. Our parents continued it. We're just finishing what they began. Every generation added something new. Better weapons, stronger shields, smarter computers. She looked at the schematic on her screen. They think they're facing primitives. They have no idea that we've been studying captured alien technology for 50 years, reverse engineering everything we could get our hands on. But they've been conquering worlds for thousands of years. They must have seen every trick. Maybe, but they've never seen human tricks. Smile grew wider. We're very good at surprises. In space, the decoy fleet moved into position near Mars. Captain commanded from the bridge of a small destroyer that looked old and weak. In reality, it was one of the fastest ships in the fleet, capable of escaping any trap. Her crew was small but well-trained. Lieutenant handled weapons. Lieutenant managed the engines. Every person on board had volunteered for this mission, knowing it was the most dangerous job in the fleet. Remember, told them through the ship's speakers, we need to look pathetic, scared. When they arrive, we act like we're already beaten. We let them get close. We let them think they've won. And then we watch the most powerful empire in the galaxy wet themselves in fear. The bridge crew laughed. It was nervous laughter, but real. They believed in the plan. They believed in humanity. Above Jupiter, hidden in the planet's shadow, the Hammer of Dawn began its final system checks. The station was so large it had its own gravity. 50,000 crew members lived aboard. Its weapons could destroy entire fleets in seconds. Admiral watched the status reports come in. Everything was ready. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait. She thought about thee and their confidence. They had ruled the stars for so long they had forgotten what it felt like to face a real challenge. They had crushed so many weak species they thought all species were weak. They were about to learn differently. On the 15th day, the fleet began moving toward human space. 10,000 warships entering hyperspace, ready to destroy a world that refused to bow. They had no idea they were flying into the jaws of a trap. They had no idea that the laughing humans were not crazy or stupid. They were patient predators who had been waiting a very long time for prey this big. The storm was coming, and when it arrived, the galaxy would never be the same. Day 30 arrived with a flash of light that lit up the darkness of space. The invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 10,000 warships appeared like a swarm of metal locusts. They stretched across millions of kilometers, blocking out the stars behind them. The smallest ships were the size of skyscrapers. The largest, the dreadnoughts, were mountains with engines. Lord stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion and smiled. His 4 eyes scanned the tactical display showing his massive fleet. This would be an easy conquest. Another primitive species added to the Dominion's endless territory. Another world stripped of resources and people. "Reports," he commanded. Commander checked his sensors. "We have detected the human defense fleet, Supreme Arbiter. They are gathered near the 4th planet." "Show me." The main screen changed to show the human position. Felt his 4 eyes widen in disbelief. Began to laugh. 50 ships. The humans had sent 50 tiny ships to face them. Each one was barely 100 meters long. Their hulls showed signs of age and poor maintenance. Their weapon signatures were so weak the sensors almost missed them. Their shields flickered like dying candles. "This is their defense," could barely speak through his laughter. "This is what they send against the Dominion, 50 broken toys." His bridge crew joined the laughter. The sound filled the command chamber like thunder. "Open a channel," ordered. "I want to see their faces when they realize how doomed they are." The communication officer worked the controls. A moment later, a human face appeared on the screen. Admiral looked at Lord with calm eyes. Her hair was neat. Her uniform was crisp. She showed no fear at all. Behind her could see a small bridge with a handful of officers working quietly. "This is Admiral of the United Earth Defense Force," she said. Her voice was steady. "We have received your ultimatum." Leaned forward in his throne. "And your answer, human, do you surrender or do you choose death?" Actually said, "We have a counteroffer." Blinked all 4 of his eyes. In 12,000 years of conquest, no species had ever offered a counteroffer. They begged, they cried, they surrendered, they died, but they never negotiated. "You are in no position to." "Leave now," interrupted him, "and we'll let you live." Silence fell across the bridge. Every officer stopped what they were doing. They stared at the screen in shock. This tiny, primitive human was threatening them, threatening the mightiest empire in the galaxy. Then began to laugh again, this time louder, this time with genuine amusement. His officers joined him. The laughter went on until tears ran from 4 eyes. "You threaten us," he finally managed to say. "With what? Those 50 rust buckets you call ships. Your species is insane." "Last chance," said. Her expression had not changed at all. "Turn around and leave. Tell your people that Earth is not worth the trouble. If you don't, you will regret it." Wiped his eyes and straightened in his throne. "I have heard enough. Your world dies today. Your species ends today. In 1,000 years, no one will even remember you existed." He looked at his tactical officer. "Destroy them, destroy everything, leave nothing alive." The fleet began to move. On the bridge of the captain watched the enemy fleet advance. 10,000 ships coming straight at them. It was like watching a mountain range fly through space. "Steady," she told her crew. "Remember the plan, look scared." "Permission to actually be scared?" Lieutenant asked from the weapons station. "Permission granted." The human ships began to pull back as they advanced. They moved slowly, clumsily, like they were barely able to control their own vessels. Some seemed to drift out of formation. Others had systems that flickered and failed. Commander watched from the Eternal Dominion with a frown. They're retreating, Supreme Arbiter, toward there. Of course they are. They know they cannot win. They're trying to hide behind their planet, smiled cruelly. Let them. We will burn them along with their world. The fleet passed Mars. They entered the asteroid belt and swept through it without slowing. The human ships continued to retreat, always staying just ahead of the advancing enemy. They watched her tactical display. They were following perfectly, getting closer to Earth, getting closer to the trap. Admiral said into her secure channel, "They're committed. All 10,000 ships are coming in." "Good, let them get closer. Let them pass the point of no return." The fleet was now deep inside the solar system. They could see Earth on their sensors, a small blue marble hanging in the void, so fragile, so helpless. Savored the moment. Prepare the main weapons. I want the first shot to destroy their largest city. Let them watch their people burn before we finish them. Yes, Supreme Arbiter, the weapons officer replied. Main cannon charging. On the human command ship, Lieutenant looked at his captain. They're charging weapons, ma'am. They're almost in optimal firing range. Nodded slowly. This was the moment, the point of no return. Admiral, she said, we're in position. All enemy ships are inside the kill zone. His voice came through the communicator. It was still calm, still steady, but now there was something else in it, something that sounded almost like joy. All ships, this is Admiral, execute protocol, she paused. Wake the sleepers. On the Eternal Dominion, Commander's sensor board suddenly went crazy. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed. Data flooded the screen faster than he could read. Supreme Arbiter, he shouted. We're detecting hyperspace signatures, hundreds of them all around us. Spun to face the tactical display. What? Where? Everywhere, behind us, beside us. They're coming from. His voice died in his throat as he read the data. They're coming from inside our formation. Space began to tear open, not in one place but in 1,000 places. Rips in reality appeared throughout the fleet, and from those rips came ships. Human ships. But not like the broken toys they had seen before. These were monsters. Battleships a kilometer long with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Carriers the size of small moons launching thousands of fighters. Cruisers with shields so strong they registered on sensors from light seconds away. And they were everywhere, in front of the fleet, behind them, all around them. Lord stared at the tactical display in horror. His 10,000 ships were now completely surrounded. The enemy numbers kept climbing. 15,000, 20,000, 25,000. Impossible, he whispered. This is impossible. Admiral's face appeared on his screen again. She was smiling now, a small, cold smile. Did you really think we were that stupid? She asked. Did you really think we would broadcast our location to the universe without being ready for visitors? Could not answer. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. You made a mistake, continued. The same mistake every bully makes. You thought because we weren't threatening you, we couldn't hurt you. You thought our silence was weakness. Her smile grew wider. It wasn't weakness. It was patience. Then heard something that would haunt him for the rest of his very long life. The humans were laughing. Not just Admiral, all of them, on every ship. The sound came through every open communication channel, tens of thousands of humans laughing at the mighty Dominion. And for the first time in his 300 years, Lord understood what true fear felt like. The laughter echoed across every frequency. It filled the command chambers. It rang through their corridors. Every ship in their fleet heard it. The sound of humanity enjoying itself. Lord gripped his throne so hard his claws left marks in the crystal. His 4 eyes darted across the tactical display, searching for something, anything that could save his fleet. But there was nothing. Everywhere he looked, he saw human ships. They had appeared from nowhere, from hidden bases in asteroid fields, from stations buried under the ice moons of the gas giants, from ships that had been running silent for months, drifting in the cold dark like sleeping predators. And they were still coming. Commander's voice was shaking as he read the sensor data. 28,000 enemy vessels, Supreme Arbiter, and there are more emerging from hyperspace. 30,000, 32,000. That's impossible, screamed. Our intelligence said they had 200 ships, 200. Those 50 ships we saw, they were a decoy, we've been tricked. On the bridge of the captain was grinning so wide her cheeks hurt. Her crew was cheering. Lieutenant had tears running down his face as he laughed. Look at them, said from her station. They don't know what to do, their formation is falling apart. Opened a channel to the fleet. All decoy ships pull back to safe distance. Our job is done, let the big ones play now. But the best part was still coming. Behind Jupiter, something massive began to move. The largest gas giant in the solar system had been hiding humanity's greatest weapon. As it emerged from the planet's shadow, sensors across the fleet screamed warnings. The Hammer of Dawn. 40 kilometers long, 12 kilometers wide, a fortress the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could destroy stars. It moved slowly but unstoppably toward the trapped fleet. On the Eternal Dominion stared at his screen in horror. Supreme Arbiter, that structure we detected, the one we thought was a mining station. I can see it, whispered. The Hammer of Dawn was larger than anything the Dominion had ever built. Its main weapon array glowed with energy readings that went off the scale. A single shot from that weapon could vaporize a dozen dreadnoughts at once. This was a trap, said. His voice was hollow, empty. From the very beginning, they wanted us to come. Admiral's face appeared on the screen again. She was no longer on the small decoy ship. Now she stood on the massive bridge of the Hammer of Dawn, surrounded by hundreds of officers at their stations. Lord, she said, now that you understand your situation, let me explain something. Said nothing, he could not speak. Humanity has known about alien life for over a century. We found a crashed scout ship on one of our moons 80 years ago. We studied it. We learned from it. We reverse-engineered everything we could. And then we started building. She gestured at the bridge around her. We built this station. We built the hidden fleets. We developed weapons and shields and engines based on technology you abandoned centuries ago because you thought it was unnecessary. Why, finally managed to ask, why hide all this? Why pretend to be weak? Because we needed you to underestimate us. We needed you to commit your entire fleet to attacking us. We needed you to come here, into our territory, where we have every advantage. You could have revealed your strength. You could have warned us away. We would have left you alone. Shook her head. No, you wouldn't have. You would have built bigger fleets, called in reinforcements, attacked with overwhelming force. But you didn't do that because you thought we were weak. You sent just 10,000 ships because you thought that was more than enough. Understood now. The humans had made him feel safe. They had let him believe victory was easy, and then they had surrounded him. Captain spoke through the fleet channel. Admiral, all ships are in position. The enemy cannot escape. Their hyperspace drives are being jammed. What are your orders? Looked at Lord, you have two choices. Surrender your entire fleet unconditionally, or we demonstrate what these weapons can do. Choose quickly. You cannot defeat the Dominion, said, but his voice lacked conviction. We have 1,000,000 ships spread across the galaxy. You may have caught one fleet, but others will come. Will they? Leaned forward. Let me tell you what happens next. You surrender your fleet. We send you home with this message. Earth is not worth the trouble. Any fleet that comes here will meet the same fate. Eventually, your dominion will decide we're more trouble than we're worth. And if we fight, then we destroy your fleet, all 10,000 ships, and then we send the wreckage back to your space with the same message. Either way, we win. The only question is how many of your people die. Across the trapped fleet, ships were trying desperately to escape. Some attempted to jump to hyperspace but found their drives blocked by human jamming fields. Others tried to run but found human ships blocking every path. A few fired weapons in desperation, but their shots splashed harmlessly against human shields. On the battleship Soul's Pride, Commander watched the chaos with satisfaction. They're panicking. Some of their ships are surrendering. Mark them and let them be, ordered. Focus on any ship that tries to fight. A cruiser made a run at the human line. Its weapons blazed, plasma bolts screaming toward the battleship Indomitable. The shots hit the human shields and did nothing, not even a flicker. The Indomitable returned fire. A single beam of blue light lanced out and cut the cruiser in half. The two pieces drifted apart, spilling fire and atmosphere. Silence fell across the fleet. That was one ship firing one weapon, said two. I have 35,000 ships and a mobile fortress. This battle can be over in 5 minutes. You will lose everything, your fleet, your people, your reputation. The Dominion will never accept this humiliation. Then teach them to accept it. Go home and tell them what you saw here. Tell them about the Hammer of Dawn. Tell them about our hidden fleets. Tell them that humanity laughed while we surrounded you. Eyes were cold. Tell them that the next time someone threatens Earth, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll come for them. Closed his 4 eyes. His claws released the throne. His whole body seemed to shrink. All ships, he said quietly, stand down. Power down weapons and shields. We surrender. The cheering on the human ships was deafening. Captain hugged her bridge crew. On the Hammer of Dawn, officers threw their caps in the air. On Earth, people watching the battle live through satellite feeds poured into the streets to celebrate. Admiral did not celebrate. She watched the fleet begin to power down and nodded slowly. This is just the beginning, she said quietly. We've won this battle, now we need to win the peace. But for this moment, humanity had done something no other species had ever done. They had faced the Dominion and made them surrender without firing more than one shot. And across the galaxy, other species who had been watching in secret began to whisper about the humans who laughed in the face of death. The surrender of the fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For 12,000 years, the Dominion had been undefeated. They had crushed empires. They had exterminated species. They had made entire sectors of space bow before them. And now, a small blue planet had made them surrender without a real fight. The news spread faster than light. Trading ships carried the story to distant stations. Smugglers whispered it in hidden ports. Diplomats discussed it in secret meetings. A new power had risen in the galaxy, and no one knew what to make of it. On Earth, the celebration lasted for weeks. People danced in the streets. Festivals were held in every city. The names of Admiral and Captain became legendary. Children played games pretending to be brave human soldiers who made aliens surrender. But the real work was just beginning. President invited Lord to a neutral space station built specifically for this meeting. The station floated between Earth and Mars, a small structure with white walls and large windows showing the stars. Arrived expecting harsh terms. In history, defeated enemies were enslaved or destroyed. Their worlds were stripped of resources. Their cultures were erased. That was the way things had always been done. Instead, President offered him coffee. The two leaders sat across from each other in a simple room, looked at the small brown cup in his clawed hands. The liquid inside smelled strange but not unpleasant. "What is this?" he asked. "Coffee, a drink from our world. It helps us think clearly." Took a sip from his own cup. "Try it." Lifted the cup carefully and drank. The taste was bitter but interesting. He felt a slight buzz of energy from whatever chemicals the liquid contained. "I don't understand," said finally. "You have defeated us completely. Your fleet surrounds my ships. You could destroy us all with a thought. Why are we sitting here drinking coffee?" Set down his cup and looked at with calm eyes. "Because we don't want to destroy you. You don't want revenge. We threatened to burn your world. We called your species primitive insects." "Yes, you did, and if we had been weaker, you would have killed billions of our people." His voice remained steady. "But we're not weak, and because we're strong, we can afford to be generous." Struggled to understand. This was not how the universe worked. The strong took what they wanted. The weak suffered and died. That was the only law. "What do you want then?" he asked. "We want peace. Real peace, not the kind that comes from fear. We want to trade with other species. We want to explore the galaxy together. We want to build something better than empires that conquer and destroy. The Dominion will never accept this. Our culture is built on conquest. It's all we know." "Then change your culture," leaned forward. "You have a chance here, Lord, a chance to make history. You can go back to your people and tell them to send more fleets. They will fail. We will destroy them. Eventually, your Dominion will exhaust itself trying to beat us. Lord." "Or you can tell them a different story. Tell them that you found a species who could have destroyed you but chose mercy instead. Tell them that there's another way to be powerful, not through fear but through cooperation." Was silent for a long time. He stared into his coffee cup as if searching for answers in the dark liquid. "You truly believe this can work?" he finally asked. "That enemies can become friends? We humans spent most of our history fighting each other, wars that killed millions, hatred that lasted for generations. But eventually we learned that cooperation made us stronger than conflict." Smiled. "It took us a long time. We made many mistakes, but we got there. Your people can too." The negotiations took months. There were difficult moments. Old hatreds ran deep. Many wanted to reject the peace and fight to the death. Many humans wanted revenge for the threats against their world. But slowly, painfully, agreements were reached. The fleet was returned to their space. No ships were destroyed. No prisoners were taken. The Dominion agreed to leave human territory alone forever. In exchange, humanity agreed to share some of their technology and knowledge. More importantly, the two species began to talk, really talk. Cultural exchanges were arranged. Students came to Earth universities. Human scientists visited research stations. The wall between them began to crack. Admiral became the first human ambassador to the Republic. Yes, Republic. Within 5 years, the old Dominion began to change. Citizens who had never been allowed to vote now chose their leaders. Species that had been conquered were given freedom to leave or stay. Lord, the warlord who had threatened to burn Earth, became one of the strongest voices for reform. He had seen what humanity could do. He had also seen their mercy. It changed something inside him. Captain, now promoted to Commodore, led the first joint human exploration mission to the galactic core. Her ship carried crews from both species working side by side. And across the stars, other empires watched and learned. The hegemony quietly from 3 systems they had been planning to invade. Their leaders had seen the footage of the surrender. They wanted no part of humanity's attention. The collective sent diplomats to Earth instead of warships. Trade agreements were signed. Technology was shared. Friendships began. The syndicate, known for their ruthless piracy, announced they would no longer raid human ships. One of their leaders was quoted saying, "There are easier prey. The humans are crazy." On Earth, life returned to normal. Children went to school. Workers went to their jobs. The hidden fleets returned to their secret bases, ready but hopefully never needed again. In the coastal city of, an old woman named sat by the window watching the waves. She had been one of the engineers who built the Hammer of Dawn 50 years ago. Her hands were wrinkled now, but her eyes were still sharp. Her granddaughter sat across from her. The young woman had just graduated from the Defense Academy and would soon join the fleet. "Grandmother," asked, "why did we hide our strength for so long? Why not show the galaxy what we could do from the beginning?" Smiled and sipped her tea. "Because, child, the point was never to use our weapons. The point was to make sure we never had to." "I don't understand." "We built those ships and that station to protect ourselves, but we always hoped we would never need them. We wanted to meet other species as friends, not as conquerors." Looked out at the sea. "When they came, we could have revealed our power immediately, scared them away, but then they would have always been our enemies. They would have built bigger fleets and come back with more hate. So instead we let them attack us. That seems dangerous." It was very dangerous. But by letting them come close, by showing them mercy when we could have destroyed them, we proved something. We proved that strength doesn't have to mean cruelty. We proved that the strong can choose to be kind. Thought about this. And the other species, they're changing because of what we did. Some of them slowly. It will take generations, maybe centuries, but the seed has been planted. Reached across the table and took her granddaughter's hand. "Your generation will continue what we started, not with weapons but with patience, with kindness, with hope. And if someone threatens us again—" Smile grew wider, and for a moment saw the fierce young engineer her grandmother had once been. "Then we laugh, and we remind them what happened to the last empire that made us laugh." Outside the sun was setting over the ocean. The sky burned with orange and red light. Somewhere up there, beyond the clouds, beyond the atmosphere, humanity's hidden fleet waited in silence. Ready to protect, ready to defend, ready to laugh in the face of any threat. And across the galaxy, in 1,000 languages on 1,000,000 worlds, a new saying had begun to spread. Parents told it to children. Merchants whispered it to travelers. Warlords muttered it to their advisors. When a human laughs at your threats, run, run fast, run far, and pray they let you go. Because humanity had learned something that the old empires had forgotten. True strength was not about how many you could kill. It was about how many you could save. Even your enemies. Especially your enemies.